Support for Connecticut East This week comes from Newport Mansions, now offering a limited guide-led experience of the third floor of the Breakers Mansion. Never-before-seen private bedrooms, bathrooms and recreational spaces used by the Vanderbilt family and household staff for more than a century. Tickets and information at newportmansions.org. Alliance for Living, the only HIV/AIDS service organisation and resource centre in southeastern Connecticut. It also deals with homelessness and assists people dealing with substance use disorder. Learn more, including working with us, at allianceforliving.org. SCAD, the Southeastern Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, is offering a $3,500 sign-on bonus for licensed clinicians. Go to licensedclinicians.org to learn more. That's licensedclinicians.org. And Connecticut Council on Problem Gambling, here to help individuals and families affected by gambling-related harm. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit our website at ccpg.org. If you're a small business, how do you go about making changes and raising your prices without upsetting your customers? We talk to a local entrepreneur who straight talks the answers. Plus, we take a look at other stories making the headlines from around the region. This is Connecticut East This Week. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith. We often talk about small businesses here in Eastern Connecticut on the podcast and the variety of services and products they provide. The reality is that owning any type of business is hard work, and to succeed you need dedication, good customer service, and the ability to evolve and adapt to what your market or customers need. But you also need to make money, and sometimes that means raising prices because of higher wages, or your supply chain has raised theirs, or a variety of other reasons that can be scary for many business owners. So what do you do and how do you do it? I sat down with local entrepreneur Alex Foulkes recently to talk about his small business journey into the hospitality industry and lessons he learned and how he is now offering other small businesses back office services to help them concentrate on the bigger picture of growing and succeeding their business. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
So we've got a lot to talk about because in your short business career, which is about, I think you said 15 years before we started recording?
Yeah, about a decade as an owner and then sort of a GM manager about another 5 years before that.
Tell us about Alex. How did you get into this? Why did you want to get into this sort of part of the industry, as it were?
I don't know why. I never was somebody who had a plan kind of early on. I don't know if those people, sure they exist out there. I think a lot of people, when you go to college at 18, you haven't made your mind up, I would suspect. I certainly wasn't that way, and I just sort of picked a place and ended up in upstate New York at Ithaca College, going for business, even though truly I wasn't on a path to be I'm going to be a business owner. It was just sort of an easy major to go, okay, that makes sense. So I did it. I wasn't always great in school, truly. ADD, and I thought I was just kind of not as intelligent as other people, but I just learned different, and that's what I've realized later on in life. But it took me being an owner really in my 29, 30 when I started to gain confidence, I guess a little before that, sort of in my management roles. But I had a lot of points before that where I doubted myself and, my level of ability and intelligence and things like that. And I think that's a powerful story, and I use it now with young managers or people or anybody looking for advice, is just showing them, because I didn't have that. I didn't have somebody going, it's okay, people learn differently. I just thought, go to school, you do well in school, you get the job, you move up, you'll have a good life. If you don't do that, then, you better be a rock star sports athlete, and go that other alternative path. So I was in the middle of that and didn't really know. So, I use that as a point of motivation for younger people, and certainly people who want to be in management roles, and show them that you can get there still in an alternative path. And that's what mine sort of was. It was, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I took opportunities, and I ended up taking a management role at the restaurant I ended up buying a year and a half later. So 27, 28, I took restaurant management role. No restaurant management experience, but I applied for a lot of jobs. And I had some relevant experience. I was like a catering manager. I was a banquet manager in a restaurant, but never managed a restaurant. And someone took a flyer on me and we had a good interview and he offered me the job and I ended up buying it just purely luck and happenstance. A year and a half later, it was a good opportunity. I was a new business owner and banks don't love restaurants as a first business to lend money to, but I was able to get it done with my business partner, and that's where I became an owner of Penny Lane Pub, which was my first business, and sort of used that to propel my entrepreneurial journey from there.
Let's talk a little bit about what brought you to Connecticut.
So grew up in Western Mass in Westfield, and then went to school in Ithaca and loved Ithaca. I met my wife out there the last year of our college experience, and we ended up staying there for a few years after. Just loved the town, but it's surrounded by nothing. In Ithaca, it's Cornell and Ithaca and then farmland. And if you want to go anywhere, it's like at least an hour outside. So she had family in the Syracuse area, but all of my family was in the Northeast at that time. And we just wanted to sort of get out of there and move back to this area.
You've already talked about the fact that you got yourself a job at the very famous Penny Lane Pub in Old Saybrook. If anybody lives in the area generally, I mean, it is such a well-known establishment. What I want to talk to you about is the fact that, as you said earlier, you got yourself a job there. A year and a half later, you purchased it. But you made some really interesting comments on social media. Very honest, very real comments about genuine concerns you had, even though you were purchasing this business, about not actually wanting to let on that you were going to be the new owner. Why didn't you want people to know about that?
I remember like a visceral reaction when the bank that we worked with, they took a flyer on us. It was me and my business partner he's from Ecuador, literally walked into the country, worked his way up, gained citizenship. Like it's him and me. You know, I have no money at the time, right? Like we had to raise the money for the down payment. So they were able to lend us money because the business was, had a strong history and we had been there. I'd been there for a year and a half. My partner had been there for like 10 years. So at least he had been the head chef. I'd been the GM. So, we were able to at least show that we could run it well. And so they took a chance on us and lent us a lot of money to buy it. And then they asked us if they could put a big sign out that said, funded by this bank. And I just went, absolutely not. There's no chance, because the owner beforehand, he didn't do a lot at the restaurant, but he was great with people. He would come in, he would shake hands, and he would kiss the babies, and everybody loved him. And I was like, I can't have anybody know that I own this thing now. Needless to say, 6 months later, when people started to find out, because of course they do, it was all positive, and like that little light bulb went off, and I was like, okay, people are happy that I bought this place, and they're excited for me, and they're interested and intrigued. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's a thing that we can lean into. We started to lean into, and that sort of gained the confidence that we can make some adjustments, we can change, we can make it our own. And that was a very eye-opening experience, because that was a very important part of gaining confidence within myself and, within sort of my business career. So I look back on that as like, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you're capable of, and there's always reasons to doubt. But if you look at sort of the positive side, and I am a very positive thinker for the most part, you can lean into that side too, and a lot of great things can come from it.
I suppose the big concern is when you purchase such a well-known business and the business owner is so well-known, any changes, I suppose, are, oh my God, is that going to be the right thing to do? But of course, businesses do have to evolve. Otherwise, they may not continue. Certainly in this time that we live in, I mean, COVID, I'm sure, certainly caused some issues. The hospitality industry, of course, is notoriously hard anyway, even if you don't factor in something like COVID. So you started to make some changes. Obviously, it didn't have any detrimental effect. Talk to us a little bit about, some of the other things that you wanted to do, because it wasn't about making, I guess, wholesale changes. You weren't trying to completely change the Penny Lane Pub, but things need a refresh and sometimes a little bit of a new direction.
Yeah, we had started to gain much more confidence in our ability to change things. And so we, just like you said, we kept the sort of essence of what the brand was and started to lean into that side a little bit more. So I remember at one point, it's sort of a weird story, but I was in the bathroom peeing and I looked up at the walls. I was like, man, this is so boring in here. And it was just, we had painted it like a, off gray or something. Why is this part of the experience just so boring? And then you kind of walk out and it's lively and it's entertaining and people are talking, people are drinking and sharing food. And, that's what a pub really is. And so I just had this idea. I was like, why why don't we just like paint a mural all over this? So I started on, and like, I remember that was another point where I was like really nervous about it because I was going to commit to it. And if people thought it was like a weird thing, that it would have been there, and I'm not going back on it. I'm not going to change it. So we found this mural artist, and she was great. And she ended up painting different Beatles references within like bright colors. And we started with like Sgt. Pepper's theme. And then from there, people's response was great, and they loved it. And it was so interesting that we put a whole bunch of murals all throughout all the bathrooms and like different places. So we adjusted things like that and adjusted the menu a little bit. We really focused on quality. The owner before was more scared to make changes to the menu and things like that, which so many business owners are, I've realized now since, and they get too caught up on, well, this person likes this and like the customer, and we'd look at the numbers, we'd be like, what do you like? We've sold like 15 in the last quarter of this item, but he wants to keep it up. So as soon as we sort of gained that confidence, we had it as our own, started to make those changes and looked at the data and asked people, what they sort of wanted and tested things. So we would do something new every kind of week, see how it worked, test it, iterate it, and then add it to the menu if it worked. And that was sort of a great process to start utilizing. And we came up with a lot of great ideas that worked, sometimes didn't work. Sometimes you think it's going to be a great idea and it just falls flat on its face. And then sometimes you're just like, oh, let's try this. And then that's the one that really carries you through and, creates a lot of movement. So we've had numerous experiences like that. And I think the important lesson is just try things and just iterate and analyze and then keep pushing it forward.
And just for the listeners, although we did say at the top of the interview, it is a very well-known pub in Old Saybrook. It's British themed, in case people were wondering when you were mentioning, obviously, about the mural. It is an absolutely stunning business and it is a stunning restaurant to go to. So if people have not actually been to the Penny Lane pub, they should go there because it's an icon, I think, personally, myself, in Old Saybrook. So business-wise, I mean, you've got some great feedback that you used to like. Again, you just are happy to give out, but it's really good feedback. It's honest feedback. One of the things that you said recently, again, in a LinkedIn post, which just resonated with me, and I'm not in the hospitality business, but it's about your prices. And people are always worried about, oh my God, my pricing, etc. And you just made the comment, just raise your prices. Don't try to hide it in something else because people will look at it. They'll give you that sort of feedback that you don't necessarily want. But yeah, everyone needs to raise prices at some point. What were your thoughts around that? Because like I said, it was a very honest posting about you just need to do it.
I think a lot of times when I'm thinking about these things, I try to initially off the bat create this, a lot of detail and put a lot of thought. And some things just aren't that way. This is one of those where there's really two parts to it, is create a really great customer experience, hospitality based. I don't care if you're a restaurant or you're a law office, dental practice, whatever it is, hospitality is super important. If you create that and you put a lot of focus on that, then people are coming for the experience. They're coming to eat, yes, but that's secondary. They're coming to share with community and be a part of something and, not to have to cook and clean up and all of those things. And that's a really valuable thing. And you can demand a much higher price than you think. I mean, we've had so many times where we've adjusted and I've questioned, and we gotten to the point where me and my partner, we have a great relationship and able to back each other up. And if he feels strongly, he can kind of push me and I can push him. And, there were times where if I hadn't done something, I never would have said before that you could do that. And if you do it the right way, and again, to your references, don't create a new fee and say, this is the service fee. We're adding 5% to cover this thing. People just don't want to do that. It's silly and it's illogical, but it's true. But if you just increase your price 20%, which is probably going to be much more than that $5, $4 increase, then they're not going to say a word because they want to keep supporting you. I remember there was this time where I was watching a documentary on Amazon and it was free and I was halfway into it. And the next day I turned it on. I was excited to watch it. They said it is now no longer free. It's $1. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, why are they doing this? It was just happenstance, that they had switched it to now on the sort of paid part of the platform. And I was like, I'm not going to watch it. This is great. And then I was like, I want to watch it. Why is this it's $1? And I clicked it and I paid. My first reaction was just against it because it's that thing that sticks out when your expectations are that it should be something else, right? So as long as you play within that, you'll be absolutely fine and you can do so much more than you think you can as a business owner. But if you do it the wrong way where it stands out, people, will have this weird, illogical reaction to something that really just doesn't affect affect their life as much as they think it does.
Now, you're launching into, or you have launched into, another direction of your entrepreneurship. You've started an organization, I believe, with co-founder as well, called CoLabs. Talk to us about that, because this is actually a service which you can provide to small businesses, which, on face value, looks incredible. All the sorts of things that really small businesses, one, they need to get on top of, but two, can also really eat into their time. So talk to us about CoLabs and where that came from.
CoLabs came from my experience as a small business owner, all of the good things and the bad things. And the things that have made me successful is trying to eliminate as many of the bad things, even the things I qualify as bad, as like things I don't even want to do personally. That's okay. But at first, when I started as an owner, I was like, I have to do everything. I have to be the person. I have to hoard the knowledge. Like, they have to know that I'm the person that everybody goes to, right? And that's not scalable. And we were able to basically double revenue over the years that we owned it, which is hard for a restaurant because you're capped on so many different things. There's so many moving parts. But we were able to do that by sharing knowledge and creating confidence within our team and creating a really passionate team customer service experience. So the things that have made me able to lead that charge has been freeing up my time on all the things that I don't want to do. And I think that's where a lot of small business owners struggle, in that they take on too much and they think that that's the way that it should be. A lot of them work for another small business owner before they created their business, and they saw that that person was doing it that way, right? And taking on so much. And, when they started their business, they look and go, well, this is the way that it is. It doesn't have to be that way. So we took that model and tried to figure out, how can we boil this down into a service to other small businesses? And what we realized was that the things that we love to do, which is the business development and the growth side of it, can only come once you systemize and organize it. And there's a lot of organizations that do the growth and focus on the coaching aspect of it, and they give it to the business owner. And from experience, I know that can be almost more overwhelming than if somebody just never told me that thing in the first place. Even though it's a great piece of advice and I want to do it, I just have too much on my plate. And now I have to manage, systemize, get everybody catalyzed and, get them on board to do it. And that's super overwhelming. But if I could have somebody who came to me and said, hey, you should be doing your marketing this way, right? Or even your bookkeeping this way. And by the way, we can do it for you. All you have to do is say, yes, check. Then that would be a beautiful thing. But it didn't really exist for me. So that's what we've sort of created with CoLabs, is we literally plug in a team member for them, manage that team member, and help them do all of the things that they really shouldn't be doing as an owner. And we download from them like what it is their goals are. Like, what do they want to be doing? What do they want to focus on? Where do they want to get to? And those are all different across every single ownership person. And we focus on what it is that they want to do and where they want to get to. And then once their business is systemized and organized, we can work on sort of the growth of the business. And so that's sort of how we process it along. Start with just plugging in a staff member into their business, helping them manage that, and trying to be as good of an employee for them as possible. And then just taking them out of their business, sometimes once a month, sometimes once a quarter, to work on the business strategy side of it.
It's an amazing service when you think about it, because as you said, when you become a business owner, you really do feel that you have to do everything. But it is impossible. If you're realistic about it, you cannot do absolutely everything, and you're not going to be the expert in everything either. And also you need to learn, and obviously utilizing a service like this from a team of people that have this lived knowledge and experience is just going to help your business. And although it is a cliche, we hear it all the time, small businesses are the backbone of America, and they really are. But to succeed, the world has changed considerably. And I think, small business people need to understand that, yeah, there are services out there. They do need to start looking at things differently if they want to succeed. What would be your sort of leaving message, for people who are listening to this, who are either maybe thinking about starting their own small business or already are in a small business situations? Maybe a couple of little thoughts that you can leave them with that hopefully will ignite something in them.
One is that there's always going to be a reason not to do something. And there's usually fewer reasons to do something, but I have found in my life, and I've been lucky in the sense that I am very risk tolerant. And I've been able to just jump in and try things and do things and then change things. When you're thinking about opening a small business, a lot of people have that thought and then never act on it. And the other problem is that once you do act on it, it is very exciting at first. And that's where you have all of the energy and the forward momentum, and that creates progress. But you inevitably, every single time you own a business, run a business, in life too, you inevitably hit this point in your business where the traction subsides and it becomes a lot more difficult. And a lot of people that do get to the point where they open the business, then get to that point and they throw in the towel, and you have to push past that point. And that's where support really comes into play, and having hopefully a team around you, or at least people that you can download with and dialogue with and strategize with, that gets you through that point. And then you get to that third point in business, which a lot of people don't get to, where you have the good and you understand it, and the energy and the forward momentum, but you understand the bad too, because everything has that, right? Every field is built on dirt, right? When you have that beautiful green grass, it's built on that sort of tougher times. So you have to get to that point, and you have to push through all of those different levels. And once you get there, you have a level of knowledge and understanding about the business that really kind of leads you into a different direction. So first piece of advice is, if you are passionate about something, there's no better life than business ownership in something that you love to do and wake up. For the last decade, I've been so blessed that I get to wake up every day, and I'm super pumped to do it. There's a few days here and there where I just don't want to do something, and I don't. And having that, I think, is truly unique. And I think you can only have that really if you are a part of an organization where you have a lot of autonomy and you love what you're doing, or you start your own organization. And it's all very possible, especially in this day and age with all of the tools that we have online. AI is obviously changing the game as well. You can get so much accomplished with much fewer people. So there's really no reason that anybody, I'm telling you, I have been successful in business. I never would have said that I would be a successful business person. I doubted myself for much of my early years. And, I've gotten to the point where I've been lucky, but I've also capitalized on those opportunities. But I've just been, bold in, some senses, where if I feel strongly about something and I'm confident in it, I do it. I guess that's my sort of overall advice, is that anybody truly can do it, and it can be amazing. Make sure you know what the roadmap looks like, and you can only get there via people kind of helping you along the way who have already done that.
Well, Alex Foulkes, business entrepreneur, it's been great talking to you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. We wish you obviously continued success in everything that you do and everything that you touch by way of businesses. And thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Ryan.
And if you're a small business and looking for back office services, then contact Alex and Collabs at Collabs HQ. That's COLABSHQ.com. Connecticut East This Week is made possible by Alliance for Living is the only HIV/AIDS service organization and resource center in southeastern Connecticut that also deals with homelessness and assists people dealing with substance use disorder. We provide a safe and confidential environment rooted in harm reduction. We offer a wide range of care to the community, including but not limited to case management, testing, syringe service program, and medical nutrition therapy. To view a full list of our services, please visit allianceforliving.org. Newport Mansions, as seen on HBO's The Gilded Age. Newport Mansions preserves and protects 11 historic properties and landscapes in Newport, Rhode Island, exemplifying 3 centuries of achievements in American architecture, decorative arts, and landscape design. Plan your visit this year and attend some of the mansion's signature events, including Newport Mansions Wine and Food Festival, September 20th to 22nd, and holidays at the Newport Mansions, November 23rd to January 1st. Tickets and info at newportmansions.org. And
SCAD, the Southeastern Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, is looking for licensed clinicians and is offering the top benefits packages in the state. Go to licensedclinicians.org to learn more. That's licensedclinicians.org.
The Connecticut Council on Problem Gambling is a nonprofit organization which, through advocacy, prevention, and education, is here to support individuals and families who are impacted by problem gambling. Our helpline, 1-888-789-7777, is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also have live chat and tech support through our website, www.ccgambling.org. veterans.ccpg.org.
Time now for a look at other stories making the headlines this week. Senator Richard Blumenthal, a member of the Senate Veterans Committee, joined military veteran farmers and state and local officials recently to announce $550,000 in federal funding for Connecticut Resource Conservation and Development to create a veteran farmer education resource hub to help new and existing veteran-owned farms connect with marketing assistance and other services, as well as create a new farmers market in the state that highlights veteran-owned and operated farms. Blumenthal said the reason he and US Senator Chris Murphy spearheaded the initiative was a simple one, that veterans are ideal farmers.
They have strong work ethic and powerful self-discipline. And they also know about rescuing animals and using animals as a means to address post-traumatic stress and other trauma of the battlefield. The experience of the treatment programs for trauma and post-traumatic stress involving animals, and so farms are an ideal place for veterans when they are recovering.
David Buck and Tamara French are both veterans and the owners of Guardians Farms, and David said they want to help raise awareness of veterans and the farming industry here in the state.
Our focus is also on agritourism, and that's kind of one of the reasons we offered our farm to host this event. We have pretty decent following on social media. We've had people from all over the globe come to our farm, so we hope we're going to be able to pull from that, I'll call it fan base, to get people to support all our fellow veteran farmers here.
UConn's Avery Point campus in Groton is looking to build a hall of residence to help encourage more students to go there. Anne-Marie Seifert is the campus dean and said because they have no local or affordable housing for students due to high costs and housing shortages, they lose out to schools in other parts of the state.
We currently have students driving up to an hour one way to come to campus, and a lot of those students are then also attending social activities off campus, a job, or likely two jobs, community service. So the idea is to have a more comprehensive residential student life experience at Avery Point.
Seifert says UConn has no budget to build the residence hall, so is looking for a private development partner, and in return, the school will lease them additional land on their campus to build commercial property they can sell or rent to help subsidize the residential hall project.
To come to campus and build a residence hall and see this not only as an investment, but an opportunity for the region and the community. We also are offering up 2 additional parcels of land, and that would give a developer an opportunity to also build a commercial enterprise to help subsidize the cost of building a residence hall.
It's also hoped with on-campus housing in the future, the school will be able to offer more majors for students to complete on-site without the need to transfer to other UConn locations like stores. Interested developers can find out more details and apply for the project at updc.uconn.edu. And Connecticut agricultural fair season has kicked off for 2024 with the annual first major fair opening in North Stonington recently in the southeast of the state. Jody Whipple is a board member of the Association of Connecticut Fairs and part of the North Stonington Fair team and says they're just as popular as ever.
We have some new things going on this year. We have a circus act coming in. We have 4 days of motorized sporting events, livestock pulls, livestock shows, stage shows, entertainment on stage, home arts and crafts. We're one of the few fairs left in the state of Connecticut who still does a queen and princess contest. We're kind of known for that. It's a tradition in town.
Fairgoers can also purchase a special season pass again this year that allows entry into all of the association's member fairs.
The Association of Connecticut Fairs puts out a season pass every year. This year, it's $100, and that will get you and a guest into any one of the member fairs in the state of Connecticut. So it's a great savings as well, and a great way to promote you going, some people go fair to fair every weekend, or some people in the height of the season might hit 2 and 3 fairs in the same weekend. So it's a great bargain.
The next major fair to open will be the Lebanon Country Fair on July 26th to the 28th. For details of a fair near where you live and information about the season passes and how to get hold of them, go to CT Ag Fairs, that's CTAGFAIRS.org. That's all from us for this edition. Do send us your questions and story ideas to the show via our website at connecticut-east.com or Facebook or Twitter at Connecticut East and on Instagram at Connecticut East This Week. And you can listen to the show again on our social platforms, on demand, and by asking your smart speaker to play Connecticut East This Week podcast. And please like, follow, and share on your social media too. I'm Brian Scott Smith. Thank you for listening.